All right, people, your boy man Mike here, man. I had to make this video. This is kind of a rant. Um, this move made me it pretty much pissed me off. Okay, it pissed me off from the very beginning because Thomas Dimitroff has grossly mishandled this roster. This move to release Matt Bryant. It's just a series of just horrible decisions. Just a series of horrible decisions. One, you cut him last year. You cut Matt Bryant last year for Giorgio Trevecchio, and you incurred, what, about almost $3 million? $2 million, $2.5 million that you have to pay him. Then you turn around, sign Giorgio Trevecchio, cut Giorgio Trevecchio. He's no longer with the team. And then you bring back the guy that you said was too old to begin with. And then you have to cut him again. Like, this is the stuff that I'm talking about. This is the stuff that I'm talking about, Falcons fans. And I was the one that wanted to give him another chance. But not with personnel. I thought he was pretty good with the cap. But looking at the move lately and what he's like giving us, what? I think we're like $6 million over the cap. Over the cap. Okay? $6 million over the cap. Something has to happen. Like, this is the type of stuff that gets GMs fired. And not only that, you have a guy that you drafted in deep tonight who's not even being played. But that's another story for another day. And I will get into that. You guys will hear my thoughts on that. But going to Thomas Dimitroff and his move, releasing Matt Bryant, tells me exactly that. That this guy grossly mishandled the cap. We signed Young Hoku, kicker who used to play for the Chargers. But this is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. You can't have this. If you're going to make a decision, you cut the guy in the first place, Matt Bryant, to say he was too old, and you bring him back. That's admitting that you was wrong. And not only that, but you signed Giorgio Trevecchio to a 2-year deal. So that's just cap issues all over the place. Now you're sitting with a bunch of corners on the team. Desmond Trufant. A lot of people thought that he was going to trade Desmond Trufant. Been saying that for almost a year and a half. That Desmond Trufant is not going anywhere because you look at the dead cap hit, and it's damn near impossible to trade these guys because of how the contracts were restructured. And then you look at the past move with Robert Alford, a guy that I thought who should have never been re-signed, not to that big of a contract, and you end up cutting him. So it is a series of just bad contracts given out by Thomas Dimitroff that has left the Falcons $6 million over the cap. And then what I'm hearing with Vic Beasley is that these guys weren't really keen in bringing him back to begin with. And you give him almost $13 million. If you weren't happy with Vic Beasley to begin with, why did you bring him back? And I made videos that I expected the Falcons to move on from Vic Beasley. Do I think the way this team has handled Vic Beasley is completely his fault? No. This is the reason why I support him. Because Dam Quinn used him as a defensive end. He's not a defensive end. He is an outside linebacker, a 3-4 outside linebacker, a 4-3 strong side linebacker. This is what Vic Beasley is. He's a pass rush specialist. He's not a pass rusher. Yet we use this guy almost 3 years doing something that he's not. This is not what he's good at. He's not a consistent pass rusher. So use him as sparingly. But no, Thomas Dimitroff, Dan Quinn, these guys mishandled him. And like I said, these are just a couple of my thoughts, man. I have look. I'm gonna slowly. You're gonna see myself, Patman, Dan. We're gonna give you guys a lot of our thoughts. We've been digging deep on this situation, man. I think this is a situation where one that TD is just an absolute nightmare. All right, he's an absolute nightmare. He's not the GM that a lot of people thought he was, but he's much worse than that. And at this point, he's just trying to salvage what he's ruined. And he's ruined this roster. And that's all because of DQ, not DQ, but Thomas Dimitroff. And Dan Quinn is sitting back. It's like, these are the players that he's been afforded. He's been awarded. Why do I say that? Because you can look at one big issue, and I say this. Just think about this for a second. If DQ was happy with his defensive rotation, if he was really happy with his roster, why would he have Deuce not still sitting on the inactive list? This guy's on the roster, was drafted by Thomas Dimitroff, and Dan Quinn is not paying. These guys are not on the same page. Thomas Dimitroff made a series of moves that Dan Quinn wasn't exactly 100% behind him. And as we're seeing that, we're seeing Deuce not playing. We're seeing Duke Riley traded. All right, Mohamed Sanu should have been traded a lot sooner. Vic Beasley should have been traded. That's 4 moves right there. Quadri Olison, that's 5. Quadri freaking Olison has yet to see the field. These are Thomas Dimitroff's picks that are not playing. Not to mention Marcus Green. You drafted Marcus Green and you end up cutting him. Like, this is the stuff that we're talking about. Like, this is the stuff that I'm saying. Thomas Dimitroff is a problem. So, I'm not going to say Dan Quinn didn't have he really didn't, he's not at fault. Because he still has to develop these guys. But this is what Thomas Dimitroff gave him. This is what Thomas Dimitroff gave Dan Quinn. You know what I'm saying? I don't think, honestly, I thought, I'm just going to be honest, man. The thing with Dan Quinn is, I think he's exactly like Mike Smith. He says a lot of rah-rah stuff, and then he settles. I don't think he means anything that he says. I think he's just a company man with a nice plan. He's going to be upbeat, do what the players like. But when it comes down to getting what he wants for his defense and building the team, he's going to be quiet. He's going to stay quiet, and let the GM just do whatever he wants. Dan Quinn doesn't have it in his heart. I'm just going to be real. This is just my thoughts on this issue. I don't think Dan Quinn has the heart to tell TD, nah, bro, you're going to give me what I need on my defense. Because you look at the roster and the draft, like this, TD has done very little for Dan Quinn and his defense. Time after time again, you look in free agency, guess what? We get some trash players from someone else's team. We don't draft anybody that's significant. you just give a bunch of 4th and 5th round picks to Dan Quinn and expect their defense to be successful. Bruh, no. So this is equally Dan Quinn's fault. You should have stepped up, and you should have demanded that that Thomas Dimitroff give Dan Quinn exactly what you needed for your defense. But it didn't do that. And this is why you have a ton of players on defense. These guys are scared to say anything because, one, these guys are around the same age. You don't have any veterans to speak up. That's another thing. He doesn't want veterans on his team to call his ass out. Thomas Dimitroff doesn't want veterans on his team to call his ass out. And all you guys, I've said this before. Dan Quinn is not in charge of this roster and bringing the guys in. This is all Thomas Dimitroff. Dan Quinn is in charge of the 53-man roster. 53-man roster is being on game day. Whoever Thomas Dimitroff has picked and chosen to be on his team, Dan Quinn has to pick out what Thomas Dimitroff gave him. I'm just going to be honest. This is mostly on Thomas Dimitroff. He has to go. And in effect, because of the losses, the Falcons aren't getting wins, Dan Quinn will be fired. But it's largely due to Thomas Dimitroff's inability to draft players. And this goes back as far as Mike Smith. Okay? This goes back as far as Mike Smith. The common denominator and a lack of defense, a lack of pass rushers, defensive linemen. This is all on Thomas Dimitroff. We're still saying after 10 years that we still don't have, outside of Grady Jarrett, we don't have a consistent pass rusher. That's the exact same thing happened when Mike Smith was coach. You know what I'm saying? The common denominator is Thomas Dimitroff. And it's time for Arthur Blank to fire his ass first. He has to go. Because I honestly believe that Dan Quinn is a good coach, but when you have GMs in place who are over you, you don't have full control like a Bill Belichick, like a Bill Parcells. This is the type of things that happen. The Falcons are struggling. They don't have the talent. Dan Quinn doesn't really necessarily have all the talent that he needs to build his defense and build his defensive line. So he got to pick up a bunch of scrubs. Got to bring back Rashid Hagan. Got to bring back Adrian Claiborne. You know what I'm saying? You're just getting a bunch of scrubs and expect this guy to get a consistent pass rusher. Like a consistent pass. Misusing Vic Beasley. Tack McKinley, we still don't know who he is. Misusing him. He's going down the same path as Vic Beasley. Because he was 260, 250. Then the next thing you know, you ask him to lose weight so he can play a little bit more outside linebacker, rushing the passer, and guess what? He's inconsistent. This is the same stuff over and over again. And the common denominator in all of this is Thomas Dimitroff. So you guys take everything how you want it. Let me know what you guys think about this. But this is a rant, dog, and you're going to see more from me on this situation because I'm really pissed at this point. Just a lot of things unfolding right now that leaves me really pissed off. And I think Thomas Dimitroff has to go. And that's all I got to say about that, bro. But your boy, man, Mike is out, man. Deuces. Peace.
Whipping the Princess Diana. Double cup bling, found her. Oh my, oh God.